Okay, so the 16 is still going to carry over and be a 16. The c minus a in the denominator is still going to carry over and be a c minus a in the denominator. Now, work with me on remembering how to factor. Because it is two terms that we can take the cube roots of, c cubed and a cubed. Whether it's sum or difference, you can factor. The first part factors into a binomial. You start by just taking the cube roots. What is the cube root of c cubed? C. Keep the same sign, so it's still going to be minus. What is the cube root of a cubed? A. So my binomial is c minus a. There's a little bit more to it than that. And that's the trick of knowing the details. So the last part is a trinomial. And that's, you've got two of the three parts, but we need a trinomial here. So I always base my trinomial off of what I have in the binomial here. So the cube root of the first term was c, right? So the first part of my binomial is that value squared. So if this cube root was c, and I now square it, that is c squared. The middle term is a term we tend to forget. And my middle term comes from multiplying these two cube roots and changing the sign. So we're multiplying c times a, which is ca or ac. And instead of minus, though, I'm going to say plus. So plus ac. And then my last term of the trinomial is the last piece squared. So it was an a. You square my last cube root. So you square that, and it's now a squared, and it's always a plus on that last one. So plus a squared. And I should end my parentheses there, but somehow I ran out of room. Can't end my parentheses there very well. Can you guys read that? So it's c squared plus ac plus a squared. End your parentheses. Now, the value of doing that is what happened. Now we can cancel the c minus a because we're canceling a factor. So c minus a cancels with c minus a. What remains? Okay, so good. We've got the 16 out front. I'll put it right here. And then we have the trinomial. A squared plus ac plus a squared. I think we did that factoring one other time.
Isn't it c squared plus ac?
Yes. Did I say it wrong also?
Yeah.
Okay. So that should have said 16. We got that part. It should say c squared plus ac plus a squared. I did. Whether I probably said it wrong too. I don't. Who knows? Okay. Make sure you have written what I've written there now, right? Sorry.
C squared plus
AC plus a squared. Okay. So as I was saying, I think we've done that factoring once, at least once in here this year. You will see it random other times. Okay? It comes up with my calc class random times too. So it's just one of those things we have to learn. I'd like you to start remembering it, but I'm never going to fully, I'll always explain it. Okay. Have your calculators out by your side for this next part because it's an easy enough problem, but we're going to do it calculator-wise, which will actually make our work less. But we're going to talk about this linear correlation.
Is this factoring thing going to be on the homework?
I feel like it is, but I don't know for sure. Do you not have your graphing calculator with you?
No.
Okay. You're going to need graphing. Okay, let's get through the first part though, then we'll get to graphing. So, linear correlation. Okay, you guys have done linear correlation in your algebras. That's not new. So first of all, we're going to be using stat plots when we get there. We graph tables of data using our stat plots. We can tell whether or not the dots are clustered along a line. Remember, in linear correlation, it could either have a positive correlation or a negative correlation or no correlation. Okay, basically we're talking scatter plots here. If the line has a positive slope, then it's positive correlation. If it has a negative slope, it's negative correlation, right? Old news. Some examples. You guys okay with those pictures there? Strong positive linear correlation. You'll notice those points are moving up and to the right, and it's tight. I mean, we can see where we need to draw the line through it. The weak positive linear correlation, can you still see the movement up to the right? But it's not as obvious, okay? Those points aren't as close together. The middle one shows little or no correlation. I would just say no correlation on that one. And then we've got some negatives over here. Strong negative correlation because those points are definitely moving down to the right. And a weak negative correlation because they're not really pulled in close together, right? They're a little more scattered, but still negative.
Like strong or weak, or do we just put positive and negative?
I'm mostly concerned with positive and negative. I mean, I'm not hugely concerned with the weak and strong. Sorry, wasn't even sure what word I was looking for there. Okay, so our example. We're going to do a lot of this on the calculator, which is nice. Because as you look at those points, do you want to have to graph this by hand? I know I don't.
No.
Not when there's decimals and then there's really big numbers. So we are given a table of weekly sales data based on market research for prices of boxes of a certain breakfast cereal and the number of boxes sold. Describe the strength and direction of the linear correlation. So did you see that part there? Describe strength and direction of the linear correlation. That's one thing we have to do. And then it also says to write a linear model for the demand as a function of the price of the box. And lastly, we're going to use that model to predict weekly cereal sales if the prices drop to $2 or raise to $4 per box. Okay. So, do you guys remember anything about stat plots? How to enter your data? It's been a moment, right?
Click second and then y equals.
Okay, so what does second y equals do for you?
Get the stat plot.
Okay, we'll turn your stat plot on. So one thing you're going to have to do at some point, whether it be now or whether it be later, is you're going to have to turn your stat plot on. So if I go to second and plots, it brings up this. Go into plot 1 and turn it on, yes? Okay. How do we enter that data? Okay. We're entering it into L1 and L2, which remember, if you go into stat, so if you just hit the stat button, which is kind of over next to your arrows, go into edit, and you enter the numbers there, yes? Remember to, if you already have data there and you want to clear them out, you can do clear, enter on the headings. Clear, enter on the headings. I would suggest the price is the independent because the price is set. So I would put those prices in L1. And then the box is sold. That is the dependent because it depends on what the price is. So I would put your boxes sold in L2. So work on getting your numbers in, please. Double check yourself, make sure you enter them all correctly. not for what we're doing here today. That's if we need to find more data. Okay, you guys got your numbers entered in L1 and L2? Okay, so we want to, because we're trying to figure out what kind of correlation it is, right? We want to be able to look at these on the graph. So if I want to be able to look at these on the graph, first of all, this is where I would say, whoops, if you didn't already turn your stat plot on, make sure it's on now. So my stat plot is on, and then I should just be able to graph it, yes? If I do my standard 10 by 10 screen, am I seeing any points?
That's fine.
Why am I not seeing anything?
Everything's above 10.
Yeah, look at those Y values. My Y values range from 18,000 to 39,000. So we should probably do a little adjustment here, don't you think? You could work with Zoom and try and get it to work out. It's doable. My preference, though, could we change our window settings? X min and X max. Any thoughts there?
40,000. Right?
X min and X max. So I'm talking X min and X max. My X's, so my prices range from 2.4 to 3.6. 0 to 5 would work. Honestly, you could do something like 2 to 4 even if you really wanted to. Okay, 0 to 5 is about the largest you need. Anything in there works. Y min. Do I really need a Y min of even 0 here? No. What's the lowest Y value we're going to have? $18,260. So maybe I can use a Y minimum. Nice, neat 18,000. If you want to do 18,200, you can, however you want. So I'm going to make my Y min 18,000 up to, yeah, it's 38,320, so something a little bit bigger than that. I'm going to say 39,000. Again, you can adjust these as, if you want to adjust them a little bit. And now you should be able to hit graph. You have some points on there.
You seen 7 points?
I said we entered 7 pieces of data, so
What's your Y max is?
my Y max I put as 39,000. Okay, so,
Strong negative correlation.
okay, to answer the first question, describe the strength and direction of the linear correlation. And I guess it does say describe the strength, so you should be saying strong or weak if it asks that. Again, I'm not hugely concerned. Can we see the negative? How it's going down slightly to the right? And that pretty much almost forms a line itself, doesn't it? So I would definitely agree that this is a strong negative correlation. So I'm going to start by writing that down. The next thing the directions ask me to do is to write a linear model. What do they ask me to write? If they want a linear model, they're asking me to write an equation. Now, we have an option. We can write this equation by hand, which is like a slope-intercept form, where we have to know our intercept, we have to find our slope, so on and so forth. Or we can let the calculator do it for us. Okay, so you guys want some steps on how to let the calculator do this for us? I will write the steps down here, kind of, to give you guys a guideline, and then you will go through and do it. So, first thing we'll be doing is we'll be going into Stat. And normally, we just go straight into Edit. But this time we're going to go over to Calc once we get into Stat. After you go over to Calc in the Stat, we're going to be going down to number 4. And number 4 is linear regression. And it's of the form AX plus B. Because when you're trying to write an equation of a set of data, it's called linear regression. So linear regression, AX plus B, that's number 4. And then we'll check our settings. And then we will go down to calculate. So those are the steps I'm going to walk you through. Ready to walk through it with me? So I'm going to hit, are we still writing that stuff down? We good? You guys look good. Okay, so stat. I said go over to calc. So I'm going to go, instead of just saying enter, I'm going to go one over to calc. And then notice there's some choices, yes? We're going to go down to number 4, linear regression, which is of the form ax plus b. In other words, kind of like an mx plus b thing. I'm going to hit enter. Notice there's some choices, yes? The biggest thing to make sure of, did you put your x values in L1, your y values in L2? So in our case, did you put price in L1 and boxes sold in L2? Otherwise, adjust those as necessary. If there's nothing else that needs adjusted, go down and hit calculate. And if we all entered the same data, we should all come up with the exact same answer.
It's not bad at all, but unless you press like graph, stat.
You might try turning your calculator back on, because I'm guessing, unless it's still thinking.
But I try turning it on.
I'll have to look at it here in a second. Okay, so guys, we got an answer, yes? It tells me, it doesn't just tell you straight out the equation, but it says y equals ax plus b, and it gives you an a and a b value. So what that's saying is that my equation, did you get it? Okay. My equation, if it's ax plus b, is y equals negative 15,358.92857x plus 73622.5. So without any rounding, if you just write down what the calculator gave you, that's the equation. Really, the intercept is already at 1 decimal place, so I really don't want to round that anymore. The slope, you could maybe round to 1 or 2 decimal places, but that's about the most I would do. So for this equation, I would list it as negative 15,358.93x plus 73,622.5. And that is your linear model. Now, we have one more part of this problem to do.
Use the model for
Okay, use the model to predict weekly cereal sales if the price is dropped to $2 or raised to $4 per box. So, what would you say that means to do?
Go ahead and change L1.
No. They're saying use the model. What is my model? My graph or my equation. This is my linear model. So if I'm using this model and the price drops to $2, what do I do with that $2? Put that in for X. So one option, I'll show you another option here too because I think it's neat, is to just basic algebra 1. Take the value and substitute it, yes? So if it's X equals 2, then I'm going to do y equals negative 15,358.93 times 2 plus 73,622.5. So I'm going to do the math here. Negative 15, whoops. 358, whoops, dang it, I can't type, 0.93 times 2 plus 73622.5. Did you get an answer of 42,000 something? So approximately 42,904.64. Which, this Y value, what does this represent? What is the label here? This is so many, nope. What is Y? Boxes sold, yes? Does 42,904.64 boxes make sense? 0.64 of a box? Okay, now, okay, yeah, big number, yes, big number is logical, right? But the decimal does not make sense. So what the book does is they round it to approximately, and they just round whole numbers, so 42,900 boxes is what they say. You could still say 42,904 boxes. I get it. That works too. That is one option for finding that answer. We also need to find the answer for if the price is raised to $4. I want to because I think it's neat. I want to show you another option besides just plugging it in on the calculator. And that is if you have lots of numbers you need to find, so you don't have to keep typing it over and over, is looking at the equation. So if I go to my y equals screen, and I type in that big long equation, well, it's just big numbers, negative 15,358.93x plus 73622.5. So that equation that the calculator told me, yes? If I type that in, and I graph it, first of all, notice it's graphing right over my dots, yes? My dots are already there. Do you remember when you have an equation, how you can type an x value in and it will give you the y value? How we use trace? If you hit the trace button on the equation, which is a slight catch here, and then you type in x value, it will populate the y value for that equation. So now, the catch here is, when I hit trace the first time, notice what does it say I'm tracing? It says I'm tracing the stat plot. Tracing those dots. Does that really help me? No. So if you use I think it's the up or down arrow, that will toggle what you're tracing. So if I hit down or up, notice now I'm tracing my equation. So now that I'm on that equation, did I already hit trace? Yes, I had already hit trace. I toggled to the equation. Now if I enter 2, notice what happens at bottom. It pops up x equals 2. You hit enter, and what does it give me? That's 42,904.64.
Can you do that with zeros then too?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so I want to find 4. So if I do trace, I have to toggle to the actual equation. So now I'm on the equation. Hit 4, enter. Notice this time my answer is 12,186.78. So y is approximately 12,186.78. Or if we go to a nice neat whole number of boxes, 12,190 boxes. I don't know, there's several ways we could round that. So those are 2 options there. I'm going to write down over here to the side. Those options were, one of them is we substituted the x value into the equation. Or the other option is you can trace the line and enter the x value. Okay. Now, we're out of time. You're a slight bit behind the other class, although the other class we only got through one example on the next page. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think you're only good on the Monday listed homework. I think the Tuesday listed homework goes with the next page. So we'll do notes tomorrow. It may take most of the period. We'll see. Have a good day, guys. Let me know if you have questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.